Hello and welcome to this new tutorial that we have in our modelling workshop series. This time we're going to make those classic cacti from the Warhammer 40K 2nd edition era and Rogue Trader. So I've got this really hard foam styrene board I'm going to use again for this particular demonstration, and if you have some hard cardboard, thick cardboard, or MDF would be the best suitable material for that. And we need some lightweight clay that I've got from my good friends at Daiso. So we're going to cut out our shape, a rough shape of the base of our cactus plant scenery, and then we're going to carve out sort of a 45-degree angle on the side of the base. So you can just roughly sort of cut that out, and then with sandpaper sand them down to get a nice smooth finish on all the sides. And by that time, maybe you've made about 3 or 4 to 5 different base sizes and shapes to get started on. And to make our spikes, we're just going to use some skewers. They could be like cocktail sticks, or these, like skewers for kebab kind of things. They're about, 1.5 mil or 2 mil in diameter, and they'll be suitable perfectly for this terrain piece. So we're actually going to cut them just at the top there, so that we don't have this really long skewer. We have sort of just about 2 centimeters maybe at the most that we can snap off or cut off, and we can use those as our cactus spikes. Then I'm just getting the lightweight clay, rolling those into balls into various different sizes. Some are big, some are medium, some are small. And they'll be perfectly ready now, and they're still soft. Put those onto your board, and you'll have something that looks like that. Now I've got some textured paint here from Vallejo. It's an acrylic textured paint, and I'll just mix some green paint in there. So I'm just going to cover the entire model with this textured paint now, because we'll be dry brushing it later on, and we want a nice textured finish, especially on the base and on the actual cactus themselves. Now I covered mine completely with this product, so with a textured paint, so you can make it out of PVA, sand, and some paint, or you get some sort of pre-made product like this to do it with. And I covered the entire thing with it, so you'll see an image in a minute showing the end result once it's all been dried. There we go. I've even covered even the spikes with it as well, so the spikes are all nice and textured too. Then I sprayed it with an airbrush with some green. I had some dark green there. Sprayed the whole lot in dark green to form a nice base colour. Then using some yellow, in the airbrush it goes, and over we go with the balls, so we can get this nice sort of lighting effect, and it just sort of picks out the balls themselves, the cacti, and yeah, they look pretty cool. We've got some brown as well. We're going to put around the bases, around the bottom parts where all the shadow lie, and where they join together. We're going to coat that in some brown. And we've got some red here, and we're going to use that to paint by hand all those spikes. Now you could have done them separately, sprayed them with an airbrush or an aerosol can, and sort of stuck them into the balls afterwards. The material is so soft that you could probably do that no problem, and put some PVA glue on one end and just stick them in there and set them like that. I've done it sort of the hard way, but anyhow, I got the same result in the end, which is the main thing. And here we are. Now they're all being painted in red, just making sure they give a couple of coats so there's no green sticking through there, and they're nice and vibrant. And yeah, we want these red spikes to really stick out. Then we're going to dry brush some yellow directly on top of the balls of the cacti, just to pick out any of the textured paint we have on there, and just to make them a little more brighter. We want to really make it so they really stand out on the tabletop. just mixing some like ivory or white into the yellow. Just continue to dry brush that textured area there until you got it to a point where you think, yeah, that looks pretty cool. I picked out all the details and you can see all that nice texture there on the top of your cactus plants. And yeah, I think they look pretty good at this stage. You don't want to make them too white or too yellowy, but just so enough that they sort of stick out, and it gives it more of a lighting effect as well. And we're going to take some dead flesh here and some flat earth from Vallejo colour, and we're going to sort of paint our bases so that we have more of a ground texture here. So just mixing the two colours together, and with an old brush, wipe off the excess, and then you can dry brush the base of your cactus plants. Just so that you have more of a groundwork between that, the cactus, because it should be all dry and that kind of thing where the cactus are. And then we can sort of put some flock on the outside of the edges of the bases. Just mixing some ivory in there, we can just give that a final dry brush, just picking out all those little ridged areas on the base, like so. Carefully, doing that carefully so we're not actually putting that paint onto the cactus plants themselves. And finally, we're going to put some PVA glue. We're going to sort of string that around the edges of the bases, and then we can use an old brush to paint the bases with that PVA glue, being careful not to cover the textured earth that we just dry brush then, making sure you cover all the edges. And then we get some of our Javis flock, and we just pour it straight into a box here, just so that the flock will stay into the box, doesn't go all over the place, and we can, whatever we have left over, we can put it back into the bag for our next project. Then finally we're going to take some heavy brown, and we're going to use the airbrush again with some goblin green. Using an airbrush, we're going to then airbrush some of that brown just on the edges of where the flock is. Now, of course, the flock's all dry at this stage, so don't do it when it's wet, because the flock will just blow off and you'll be left with patches everywhere. So give it a good couple hours, 3 to 4 hours to dry. More will be better, actually. Just leave it to the next day if you can. And yeah, that way it sort of just, it covers up that sort of line between where the sort of the flock starts and the groundwork begins. So we want to cover that to just make it more of a transitional color there, which just looks better on the eye, I find. And then the same with the goblin green. We're just going to just spray that lightly over areas of the flock just to give it more of a warm colour, warm creamy colour. And that will just blend in really nicely with my table anyway, because a lot of the table has that sort of goblin green areas of the flock that it's being painted over. So again, it's not a necessity that you do that, it's just something that I like to do just to blend in with the terrain that I have in my collection. And there you have it, guys. It's as simple as that. So we got that tutorial done at about under 12 minutes. So I'm sure you can have fun either doing it yourself or with your kids. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'll see you in the next one.